My name is Isabelle McConville, and I am a bookseller and associate producer here at Barnes & Noble, and I am so excited to be here with Madeline Cash, author of one of my personal favorite books of the year, which I know is crazy to say because it's January, but that is how confident I am, and that is how strongly I feel about this book. Madeline Cash is here, author of Lost Lambs. Madeline, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you here. I really love this book. I've been talking to everyone I know about this book for so long.
Really?
I really have. It's so good, and I'm such a fan. And this is your debut novel, which is pretty crazy. So it's been out for almost 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
How has the whole process been like for you so far?
It has been a whirlwind. All of this was so unprecedented. It's been in the works for 2 years, so I've been in that pre-publication limbo, where I don't know what this will amount to or what will happen or if anyone will resonate with this book or if anyone will, even want to read it. And so all of my expectations have been exceeded tenfold. I'm so happy. We had a party for publication. There was a harp.
Oh,
It
wow.
was far nicer than any wedding I ever will be. So I'm over the moon about everything.
That is incredible. I love hearing about the harp, and that feels so right for this book, I have to say.
I know it was a little eerie, kind of eyes wide shut, masked ball vibe, which I was intentional.
That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I wanted to ask you what the last few weeks have looked like and how you're feeling. I mean, putting out your debut novel, I feel like obviously this you have a short story collection that came out before, so you're not entirely new to the publication process. But I just feel like releasing a novel is this super intimate thing because you've been holding this so close for so long and now you're releasing it into the world, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to talk to you after it's already been out, so I just want to know, like, what has that process felt like?
You're right, it feels crazy. It is very intimate, and I have this, at first, a relationship with the book that's just me. No one has looked at it. And then it's just between me and my agent and publisher and a couple select people. So it goes from being this very quiet, intimate, personal thing to being massively received, which while it's been, I think, a positive reception, it is terrifying and I feel like a raw nerve all the time. And I am trying to not go on my phone a lot, and what's important is passed on to me, but I don't know, I kind of try to avoid it. Like, my life has changed a lot and I've never been a very public or front-facing person who has, appeared on podcasts, and like now I'm yeah, now there's just so a lot of attention on me, and I'm adjusting, honestly. Um
I think you'll be happy to hear that I've also just been trying to stay like off my phone more lately, and a lot of my days recently have just been like picking up your book again and again and again because I feel so attached to these characters.
Oh my God. I'm so glad the book can be a reprieve from your phone. I've been trying to do
Yeah.
that too. I started reading The Year of Magical Thinking just to
Hmm.
cheer me up. And it is nice to get in the habit of, instead of just like ambiently scrolling on my phone, to picking up a book.
Oh yeah.
Especially in London when it's raining, and it's nice to do that here.
Yeah, I can relate to that. It's been, I think this morning when I woke up, it said it was 3 degrees in New York, and I was like, okay, I'm not sure what else there is to do other
Oh
than
my
read.
God. Okay, so it has been crazy there.
It's been so cold.
Oh my God. Wow. I can't believe that you made it out to Barnes and Noble. Unless you just
I,
live in Barnes and Noble. There would be
yes,
room.
this is true.
They have little cubbies for you guys.
I just put my cot over in the corner and it's really fun.
Fair enough.
So, not only are you an author, but you also founded Forever Magazine. Can you talk a bit about what the magazine is and how you started it?
Yeah, absolutely. The magazine started in 2020 during the pandemic. I was living in Los Angeles, and there was not the literary scene that I was craving. To be diplomatic about it, there wasn't a lot of excitement around literature, at least in my milieu. And um, I threw this reading, and it had to be outside because it was during COVID, and we had it at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, because this is like a large outside space, and it's beautiful and historic, and I don't know, I just kind of I decided to throw it there. And it just garnered a huge crowd. So many people came out, even people who were there like mourning came and joined the reading. And I'd never seen a reading like this that wasn't kind of, at an institution and long and formal and a little bit stuffy. It just felt like something new. And I mean, it was so large that we got a cease and desist from the Hollywood Forever Cemetery and told not to return. And so I decided to take everyone's pieces that they'd read and compile them into a little zine and call it the Forever Magazine. And there just seemed to be like this excitement around it. And so I kept going with it. And eventually I tapped my friend Annika, who I went to high school with, and she was going to Columbia for grad school. So I sort of moved over to New York, essentially with a suitcase. I mean, literally with a suitcase. And I stayed on my Aunt Brenda's couch until I found an apartment. And that was the humble origins of the magazine.
That's so cool to hear about because I know a lot of our listeners are both, you know, hopeful debut authors and established authors, and I feel like we don't really get to hear too much from people who've worked in the magazine space, and I just think it's such a good important thing. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. I was such a fan, or I am such a fan of this press and publication Tyrant Books, which folded, I want to say around the same time the magazine started, maybe a little bit later when its founder, Giancarlo Di died. And I was just such a fan of everything they put out. Atticus Lish's Preparations for the Next Life, Nico Walker's Cherry, they found him when he was in prison, and they just were really excellent at having their thumb on the pulse and finding these stories that weren't going to otherwise be told, or people who weren't otherwise going to be championed. And
Yeah.
like Scott McClanahan and Appalachia, and I was just such a fan. And then when it seemed that there was no continuation of the press, I really wanted to see that legacy continued. And not to say that we did that by any means. It was a very different publication, but I did reach out to many Tyrant writers and did my best to pay it forward, because I felt like I owed so much of my appreciation for literature to that press. And so that was a big impetus for the magazine.
So, as I said earlier, you also have a story collection out, Earth Angel. So, again, you aren't entirely new to the publishing process. So, can you talk a bit about writing that collection and how your process differed or stayed the same when you started working on Lost Lambs?
Yeah, I mean, it was completely different. Like apples and oranges, but like apples and a table lamp. Like they are not in the same ballpark at all. The press that I published Earth Angel on was very small, and they were lovely. I was honored to have been selected. It was my dream to have work of mine published and put out, but it didn't resemble this process at all. It was very unregulated. There wasn't a lot of spell check involved. My name was actually misspelled on the first printing of the book.
Oh, wow.
And certain freedoms came with this. I got to pick the cover artist myself and reach out to her, and I did all of my own press and PR. And I am very plucky and ambitious, and so I was sending a lot of emails and putting myself out there and getting a lot of rejection. But then every once in a while, something would stick, and I weaseled my way into different press for the book, and we had a little bit of a cult reception. I think that it was that a select few people liked it, and that was all I ever hoped for. So when FSG took over, it was completely different. Suddenly there were earmuffs with lambs on them for
Yes.
me, and wheat paste the size of two of me. I mean, I could never have dreamed of something like this.
So when it comes to the actual writing process, I'm so interested to know when you're starting a short story versus when you started Lost Lambs, how did you know that Lost Lambs was going to be a novel? And how did you know that that was really like your next thing that you were working on?
I knew I wanted to write a book. I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't ever written anything longer than 10 pages. The sort of flash form short story was always my medium. Um, so I read a lot of novels, but I didn't have any experience in it. And I really plotted and mapped it out. I'm very organized. I do everything analog. I have my calendar right here. And so I drew out what I wanted the plot to look like and what the characters might look like. And it changed as it developed, but it was heavily mapped. And I think that really helped me get going. And I would recommend that for any new writer, because then you are sort of plugging in as opposed to just looking at a daunting empty page.
Yeah.
And some things changed, and there, you want to make God laugh, you make plans, and it's the same with writing a book. It gets a mind of its own, but I did really structure it. And because yeah, it was a conscious decision that it wasn't a short story that went long.
I'm always so interested to hear from authors who map things out versus the ones who just say that they're like they just enter a flow state and a story pours out of them. I can't grasp that. I'm such a planner myself too. I just cannot grasp like characters taking over. But I wonder, did you feel like they took over for you once you knew where they were going?
Not really, but I've heard
Okay.
this too. Authors have
Yeah.
told me that like it was like labor and just poured out of them, and for me it was absolutely more like studying for the SAT. I was I had physical note cards on my wall and a whole digital world. Before I'd even written the book, there were pages dedicated to what the book was going to be. Uh, and later on, the characters where they uh, flowed the most was with dialogue. I
Mm,
really love writing dialogue, and I would get on a roll, and sometimes the cadence of things, I would go in a direction that wasn't expected or what wasn't according to plan. Um, but mostly for the direction of the book, it was mapped and timelined and I don't mean to take any of the magic out of it. It just was necessary for me, being my first novel, and there are so many disparate narratives that I needed them to be aligned. And this like advice is sort of like by way of David Foster Wallace, but like fiction is already a lie. So you don't want to lie to the reader further and make them like you want to keep them their trust. And
yeah.
so I wanted I wanted to make sure everything was solid in this world that was made up.
Yeah. I'd love to actually dive into the story itself. So I wonder if you can please give our listeners a synopsis of the novel.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sipping my tea, very London. I have been pitching it as a family saga. There are two parents, Catherine and Bud, who are in the throes of a disastrous open marriage. They have three teenage daughters. The eldest, Abigail, is rebellious and has started dating a soldier called War Crimes Wes. The middle daughter, Louise, feels neglected and has unwittingly entered into an online discourse with a terrorist. And the youngest daughter, Harper, is precocious and has stumbled upon a cabal in the small town the family lives in, and starts to unravel these secrets that are that are hidden there.
Do you remember what the first spark was for the story? Like, was it a voice? Was it one of the characters? Was it the setting? Do you remember what really got you going with this one?
There are a few different things. There's a line from a fight with Catherine and Bud where she's like, "Come on, am I really the woman of your dreams?" And he says, "No, but you're the woman of my reality."
Hmm.
And I had written this down. It was probably based off of some fight that I'd had with an ex-boyfriend, and just started really thinking about relationships and what it looks like 10, 20 years in when the, butterflies have stopped and the reality sets in, what endures. And I, haven't been in a 20-year marriage, and I come from a single mother who also is not in a long marriage, and so it was kind of anthropological. I started examining like how would this Rumspringa from a marriage look, and that kind of got the family saga going. But then, sort of running parallel, there's this plot of these billionaires, and I just in the news it kept popping up that these rich tech oligarchs wanted to extend life expectancy using more absurd forms of science and gene therapies. And I just thought that this was so funny to me because I have never had any desire to live forever. That sounds awful. I
Yeah.
want to, like, not in a fatalistic way. I just want to live a nice life and die gracefully. And
Agreed.
and so I was always like so sinister and weird, and I thought like, wow, what a great villain. And then they kind of came together, this absurd cabal, and then this bumbling family. Um, I tried to kind of harmoniously weave them into one another.
And you did. Weave, you did. It was
Thank you.
wonderful. I love this book. You start actually with an epigraph that says, "It made the children laugh and play to see a lamb at school." Can you tell me about choosing that quote and why you wanted it to be the reader's first introduction into this world?
Well, of course, it is from the poem Mary Had a Little Lamb. Um, I there's just such an emphasis on children and this childlike wonder that as we get into adulthood tends to fade. And, we be like, as a defense mechanism against the difficulties of life, we become jaded and tired and lose this like ineffability that you can uh, maybe only have as a child. And I was scared almost in this meta way that writing this book that I was losing something that I had when I first started writing Earth Angel, and there was no expectation and there was no um, destination. It was just writing for the sake of writing. And um, I think I just wanted to introduce it with like a nod to the child in the book that is I think is so important to hang on to.
Yeah, I can see that absolutely. I'm so interested in the world that you've built in the book. We know that the Flynns are living in like a small coastal town, but we never learn exactly what state they're in or hear too much about like the external world. Can you talk about making that choice for the setting and what really went into your actual world building process? Because I know that world building has kind of been co-opted by like science fiction and fantasy, but it's so important in literary fiction as well. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit about like what went into really making this world come alive.
Definitely. Yeah, and that's true. And I haven't read much of that genre, but so much world building went into this. I didn't want to distract from the plot or the characters with specific details that people could relate to in their own lives. If it were
Mm.
set in Southern California, people have preconceived notions about this area, have been there, lived there, dislike there. And so I wanted it to be like a nameless town. And then from there, kind of decided to avoid all proper nouns. So everything in the book is completely made up. Like all of the medications and former leaders and names of built businesses and brands. And uh, there's I've talked about this before, so I don't mean to sound redundant, but there's this school of French writers called Oulipo, and they tend to believe that more restraint actually leads to more freedom and creativity in writing. And So they would write entire books without using the letter E, or would
Hmm.
use mathematical equations to like direct the plot. And so I thought like not using any proper nouns will kind of help me create this world. And I had it all mapped out in a spreadsheet where I have a list of all of the names of everything to make sure that they are consistent. And I drew a map so that the world could actually be navigated were it to exist. But yeah, it is completely a work of fiction.
I think one of my favorite instances of that in the book was, and it's such a small detail that made me laugh and was just one of my favorite parts, was the cozy man instead of a lazy boy. That was like one of my favorite just little bits.
There are a couple of those that are so on the nose. The instead of the Johnny Bahamas t-shirt, oh, I can't remember what I made it, but it was like
Oh,
I
it's on
can't
the tip of
remember.
my tongue. I can't remember either. There's so
Um
many great instances of that.
but like, that's yeah, that's a great example where like any proper noun had to be rectified and put into this world. And I mean, also is so much fun. I come from a copywriting background, so I do love puns and wordplay. And it was really great to do.
So I want to dig into the characters a bit. I want to start with Catherine and Bud. They're the mother and father of the Flynn family who are having some serious marital issues, as we've said. They were both artists in their youth when they met. Catherine, a photographer, and Bud was in a moderately successful band in their small town. Can you tell me about your process of creating their characters and how they both really came alive for you?
Yeah, definitely. Um, like to insert the author into the book as much as possible, but
Hmm.
like the town, these characters don't exist. I'm sure there are composite traits from people I know, but they are complete inventions. I like I said, I just tried to think about what a couple that started somewhat like me in a like as a young artists might look like after they've had to make concessions for their family, and how how resentments might grow or dreams might fade. And Catherine obviously was very beautiful and struggles with sort of using this like losing the currency that was her youth and
Mm.
attractiveness, and she's not turning heads the way she used to, and this is making her start to feel panicked and trapped. Well, Bud has sort of relented and is accept his fate and is okay just being an accountant and a dad, and is ready to do that till he dies. And so when his wife decides to shake everything up, it it's very difficult for Bud. And he moves into the minivan.
Yes, yes, he does. That leads me perfectly into my next question. A moment in the book that really stuck out to me about Catherine and Bud was the section where we're learning more about them as a couple. And a quote I have here is, she knew Bud felt it too from time to time, but he felt it in private. He receded with his hairline at night, stealing away to the car to listen to music from the past. They languished alone in tandem. Can you talk to me about the dissatisfaction that they both feel and the choice that you made to have them feel this dissatisfaction but apart from each other?
I think it was the only thing that could lead to their arrangement. If they
Mm,
had been on the same team, maybe they could have worked through it together, but because they had both just withdrawn, they became lonely and strangers to each other.
yeah.
And I think, at least from my marital research, that the only way to keep a relationship going strong after a long period of time is the constantly communicating and growing and changing together. And so them taking these parallel but separate paths, I think, is what sort of created the divide that led to their arrangement.
Yes, I can see that absolutely. I also want to talk about loneliness, like you brought up. It's something that we see in almost every character deal with in a way. It's a huge, huge part of the book. And loneliness really does send each character away on their own adventures, I think. Can you talk about loneliness and why you wanted to focus on it and how it really shows up for these characters?
Yeah, they are each it's more than like loneliness. They're missing something. And so they
Yeah.
have to go on these individual journeys, and they're like these little heroes journeys because they have to leave home in order to return and find something that was lost. Whether they're feeling misunderstood or neglected, or what have you. Each of the characters are profoundly lonely and just want to be like seen by one another, and
Hmm.
yet they are all scrambling past each other in this kind of like Abbott and Costello routine of uh, avoiding what is, right in front of them. Their answers could have all been probably found at home, but they have to go out.
Yes, and go out they do, and I'm so glad that they do. It really brings us on a fun journey with them. Um, at one point, also sticking with Catherine and Bud, they have a fight, and Catherine says to Bud, "Our life is not the stuff of greatness. Nobody writes sonnets about their third toddler. Nobody paints portraits of grocery store aisles." Bud then responds by saying, "We might not be portrait-worthy people. Is that such a bad thing?" And Catherine tells him, "Yes, it is the worst thing." Can you please tell me about that exchange between them, what it was like to write it, and what you really wanted it to do for readers?
Bud has completely come to terms with mediocrity, and Catherine is still striving for more, whether that is success in her creative field or the recognition she craves or travel. She wants more out of life. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think that this is a fool's errand to not be able to look around and see that everything you need is right there, and to search externally. But one that I've definitely felt. So what he's trying to convince her of, she at this time can't see until she, goes out. Um, and I mean, I don't know. No one should be taking marriage advice from me. I'm not married, but I imagine that not being able to please the person that you love, not being enough for them would just be the worst possible feeling, and that's what leads Bud to his absolute desolation that takes him to Lost Lambs.
And like you said, I mean, sure, you're not married, but you are an artist. And it really makes me think about what happens to art, what happens to artists when they don't have an outlet, when you feel that like overwhelming creative urge and you have nothing to work on, or you don't have the time to work on it. And I think we see Catherine especially deal with this. I wonder if you can talk about that and how like feeling that creative urge and not having an outlet can kind of lead to just total dissatisfaction.
Yeah, this build up where she at least I know that I do feel that way, where if
Yeah.
I am feeling creatively bankrupt, that
Mm-hmm.
everything feels inadequate. But I don't even know that Catherine is a true artist or just fancies herself one, and wants
Mm.
to be viewed a certain way. I think that the reception would be enough for her ego, and has just woken up one day and thought, where's the last decade gone? Um, or maybe she is and she's not spiritually fulfilled. And so, she goes and looks for artistic fulfillment, but looks for spiritual and religious fulfillment. And um, I think that I just wanted to speak to like the crazy lengths people will go to satisfy that kind of ineffable itch that we get.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the girls. First, Abigail, the eldest daughter of the Flynn family. She's described as stunningly beautiful, and she falls in love with an older guy named Wes, also known as War Crimes Wes. Can you talk to me about creating her and writing in this relationship that she falls into, really?
Yeah, the daughter's None of them are fully formed, as teenage girls are not quite adults. So but they're each respectively rebelling, and she sort of represents this outward rebellion
Mhm.
where she wants to go out and be seen and get her parents' attention in the most flagrant ways possible, which involve sneaking out and dating a soldier. Uh, she came to me through, I think I was initially watching The Virgin Suicides and thought, like, these well, I don't know. I just wanted to like do sort of a deeper examination into a character like that.
Yeah, and she was such a great character to read. She made me laugh so much, and I really enjoyed seeing where she was going, and how she thought through things. She was just such, I think, a relatable character too.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And as a middle child myself, Louise was a girl after my own heart. She struggles to be understood, to be seen, and she wants more than anything to be loved and to win the Our Lady of Suffering's inner beauty pageant. At one point, she tells the town priest, Father Andrew, that she has a reoccurring dream where she's burning alive from self immolation while the world keeps going on all around her. Can you talk to me about creating her character and how you really came to Louise?
I also feel so affectionate for this character, and a lot of middle children have told me that they felt seen. And being an only child, I was but every character.
Mm,
Sometimes the favorite, sometimes neglected. um, but creating Louise was ironically the other two daughters were fleshed out far more than her. So not only was she the middle daughter in the book, but she had the least character. And this poor girl was just destined to meet an online terrorist. I mean, she just wants nothing but love and attention, and it has nothing to do with ideology, but truly just a lack of affection. I mean, I kind of thought that this would be growing up like sort of post 9/11. I was always told that there were uh, online terrorists grooming us
hmm.
children, which I don't think was actually as rampant as a problem as my mother made it seem like it was going to be. Sort of like how you think quicksand is going to be everywhere when you're a child, and there's really not that much quicksand.
I kept my eyes peeled on Club Penguin.
Me too, on Club Penguin, always. I always thought that's where they were gonna get me.
Hmm.
Um, and but I always sort of wondered like who are these kids on milk cartons, like who that are so gullible that they get abducted, and what is the pathology there? And it was probably just like a deep desire for connection.
Hmm.
And so that is where Louise was born, in the treehouse.
And then, of course, Harper, the youngest Flynn, she's been told she's too clever for her own good and she's quite the problem solver. A line that really made me laugh out loud while I was reading was when she considers her parents' failing marriage and she's like, it's just another problem I'll fix, but not today. I'll get there eventually. Can you talk to me about creating her character, choosing to give her all of this drive and thirst for knowledge that she can't figure out where to put, and, having her be so obsessed with trying to figure out her own creation myth? I just loved that about her.
Yeah, Harper is probably my favorite. And so much fun to write, so much research went into her. She's much smarter than I am. But I think that there is this historic precedent for a precocious, almost omnipotent child. Like J.D. Salinger has Seymour, who appears throughout his work, and then I don't know, even like in The Sixth Sense. I really loved this character of the wise child, and it is kind of a trope. So I did try to subvert it and hyperbolize it. But Harper, being the youngest, is smarter than everyone and knows everything that's going on. But of course, no one listens to her, um, despite being the voice of reason, and she's completely ignored. And it was just delightful to get to figure out what she might be like because despite being this sort of little prodigy, she is also a girl growing up, and she goes to camp and gets her period for the first time, and there are some things that she can't intellectualize, and she just has to feel. And that is hard for the little genius to reckon with.
I loved Harper so much.
Thank you.
I also want to talk about the whole conspiracy theory piece of it all. We talked a little bit about it with Louise. A lot of this relates back to Harper, though, who spent a lot of her free time combing through her dad's work files and having a healthy suspicion of the company he works for, Alabaster Harbor. We also have another character, Tibet, Abigail's best friend, who finds herself falling down into deep rabbit holes, and we kind of see the world through her perspective, which I really, really enjoyed. Can you talk to me about writing those bits and what interested you about writing about, this idea of conspiracy theories and how they affect people?
Um, to ultimately plot out the mystery, I read a lot of mystery books, and from mostly 40s hard-boiled noir, kind of Raymond Carver, um, tales of suspense and mystery, to figure out how to do it because I didn't really know. And while this genre was interesting to me, it also kind of seemed at odds with the family saga. And then I started realizing that it's not. These tales we hear of corporate corruption are, running parallel to our lives, and we're just living in tandem with them until we kind of
Mm-hmm.
butt up against them. So I thought having the alabaster mystery just close enough for discomfort to the
Mm-hmm.
family, kind of it respectively affects each of them a little bit, was just fun and a good way into them, being the unwitting heroes of this, and being the ones to unravel it. These people who had otherwise accepted mediocrity end up heroes. But we won't give too much away.
We won't give too much away. Another big theme in the book also is the pursuit of youth and beauty and how the wellness culture thrives around the Flynns. Abigail has a very concerning idea of weight and what beauty means, and Catherine spends a lot of her time soaking in baths and buying various products meant to soothe wrinkles or bring buoyancy to her skin. There's also a tech billionaire that has his own ideas about youth that we won't get too much into. But can you talk to me about including that in the book and why it was important for you to shine a light on it?
Yeah, it's unavoidable growing up as a
Yeah.
young girl to these beauty standards are imprinted on you. I literally made an appointment today to get Botox. I've never done it before and canceled it and was like, "What are you doing? Don't do that." No judgment to people that do. I just
Mm-hmm.
like it's that pervasive that at 29 I still am affected by it and have these impulses. And I kind of liked the parallel of the men want to live forever and the women just don't want to get any older or appear that they're aging.
Mm-hmm.
Um, while like men's fear is dying, women's fear is getting old. And I don't know, I just like I'm not even commenting on it. I just wanted to point it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we we're really inundated with these unrealistic standards and the effects that while hyperbolic in this book, they do have an effect on our children.
Yes. Yes, they do. Um, I I've had like the same exact thoughts honestly too because I'm turning 25 in March
Oh my God,
and
you're a baby.
I am. And I always hear about how like preventative Botox is the thing that you got to do, and maybe I should start thinking about it. And then I find myself falling down these same rabbit holes, because it's something that I
Yes.
think we're expected to like overcome and not think too much about, and be very highbrow about. And then it's still like it's everywhere we look. It's all around us. This
Yeah,
the
get
beauty.
lymphatic drainage, plump
Yes.
your lips, get your eyelashes torqued up, but get a red
Yep.
light face mask, and you
Hmm.
look like Darth Vader. It is kind of obscene the lengths that we're going to, but I
Yeah.
absolutely fall victim to them, so I'm not exempt.
Me too. Me too. That's what I really loved about your book is that, like you said, you weren't necessarily making like a point of it, but you were just including it because it's part of the world. I mean, it's this
Yeah.
ever present thing. So you keep things very light, very funny throughout the book. The presence of the gnats were making me laugh so hard throughout the book. I mean, the story of the gnomes to the names of the establishments in town, like Oliver Twister and Frank's Dairy. Can you talk to me about why it was important for you to keep that sense of play and like how you kept that attitude throughout your writing process?
The playfulness and humor was really important to the book. The topics kind of on their own raw are unsavory.
Mm-hmm.
There's human trafficking and marital discord and terrorism and um blood cults and I think that on its own would make for a very different book, but it's this jester's privilege. You're able to sort of speak truth to power or point out potential defects in society by doing it with humor and being able to clown around about it. And so I think that it helped me navigate more delicate areas by having a sense of play.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just love making puns. It was
Nice.
my livelihood up until the last 2 years. So another thing for young writers is that whatever you're doing right now will uh, you'll put everything into that book. If you're a copywriter or a waitress or working
Mm-hmm.
in construction, it will all be in the book. So that was my contribution from the real world of copywriting.
Also, again, before we wrap, I'd love to hear about your influences. If you could talk a bit about just some of the books that you love, the books that you grew up reading over and over again, or if there was a specific book that influenced the way that you wrote this one, just really what made you into the person you are today.
Definitely. Um, well, I love Donald Barthelme's short stories. They mean the world to me. I'm a big fan of these systems novels. Like, I love Don DeLillo and Underworld. And uh, Thomas Pynchon. I especially for this book, I was thinking about The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen a lot
Mm-hmm.
to navigate a family saga properly. I have also recently really loved The Last Samurai by Helen DeWitt. And I'm trying to think of just like my all-time favorite. I'm like looking behind me, but I just moved here, so my bookshelf is a little bit scant right now. Um,
And I'd also love
cool.
to know if there's anything you're reading now that you're really excited about.
Well, it's a little bit boring right now because I had a sort of subpar high school education and I have these gaps in my literary canon. So I decided for my 29th year, before I turn 30, I'm going to read all of the classics that I missed. And I have a list here for you, and it is petty and annoying, but I'm making my way through it. I remember getting extra credit for memorizing all of Shakespeare's plays, like the titles in order of the year they came out, but not
Yep.
reading any of them.
Yeah.
I was like, how did I get through high school without reading Hamlet? So I did read Hamlet, and I read The Trial most recently.
Okay.
And then I have to read Dead Souls, In Search of Lost Time, The Odyssey, A Hundred Years of Solitude, The Red and the Black, Journey to the End of Night, Anna Karenina, Middlemarch, Don Quixote, and Madame Bovary. So I
Oh,
have a
wow.
big year ahead of me. I'm making my way through, but it's the perfect thing to do in England.
Yeah, you're booked.
Yeah, so actually I'm really busy for the rest of the year because I have to read Dead Souls. But honestly, enjoying it, looking forward to it. Taking a break, I'm reading some Joan Didion right now, which is
Nice.
um a nice and I mean this one particularly is really depressing, but just reading Joan Didion makes me feel like warm and happy.
sometimes you just need the beautiful sentences, you know, you just need the sentences to just feel like they're giving you a hug, and you know, the subject matter we can get to with our next brain cells, but sometimes I just need like the one to focus on. Wow,
What
I
are
love
you
how
reading
this
right now?
sentence
I'm
is
curious
structured.
what you guys are all excited about in the store.
So I just finished reading Good People by Petmina Sabit. It's a really, really good book.
Yeah?
I love it so much. It's written so well. It's also a debut, which is crazy.
Did it just come out?
It actually comes out on February 2nd. So by the time this airs, it will be out, but for you, it's not yet.
Okay, okay.
It's
I wonder if it's coming out
incredible.
in the
It's this story told through. It's told about a family that goes through a tragedy, but it's told through the people in their community, like interview style, and it's so good. I've
I
never read a
like that.
book like
Very
it.
cool.
Yeah, but
Okay,
yeah,
I'm saving in my list here.
not to give you
Awesome.
more homework, but
No, no, no. This sounds great.
it's so
I also get
good.
galleys a lot for like what I'm reading is it was my New Year's resolution that I'm reading a little bit of each of them.
Oh,
Because
great.
admittedly, if I didn't love the cover, I would sometimes not read them, and I these are people's livelihoods, and I'm reading them. Just so you know, I'm reading them, everyone.
Let the record show Madeline Cash is reading your galley.
I really am. It's true.
Is there anything that's inspiring you now, or that you're working on, or watching, or again reading, that you'd like to talk about before we wrap?
Oh man, my I'm so out of. Did I mention I'm in England? I'm out of touch with popular culture. I watched MASH last night, loved it. But I'm not like watching or like the movie or show du jour right now.
Hmm.
So I'm really open to recs if anyone wants to let me know. But I did just finish my second book, so more will be revealed there.
So exciting. I cannot wait.
Thank you.
Madeline, thank you so much for joining us on Port Over. Lost Lambs is out now.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you for listening. Poured Over is a Barnes & Noble production. To help other readers find us, please rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.